Hi, I'm Chris from Lectural, and welcome to Music for All. In this 10-part course, I'm going to teach you how to play guitar from picking up a guitar for the very first time all the way through to playing your very first song. In today's episode, we're going to talk about basic music theory. So now that we've talked about notes on the guitar, chords and scales, let's bring it all together with some music theory. So what is music theory? Music theory is essentially the study of how music works. It's a practice that musicians apply to be able to communicate and understand the language of music. For example, if you have a few musicians in a room writing music together, and they've all studied music theory, they will be able to quickly and easily discuss the ideas that they have about the song that they're going to write. Let's say that in this example that they're going to be jamming together and the song leader says, let's play the 12-bar blues in A minor at 120 beats per minute. Everyone else there then knows that they're going to play 4 bars of the 1 chord, 2 bars of the 4 chord, back to 2 bars of the 1 chord, then 1 bar of the 5 chord, back to the 4th chord for 1 bar, and follow up with the 1 chord and resolve it with the 5 chord for 1 bar. In English, with this example being 1 time counting as 1 bar, that means that they're going to play the A minor chord 4 times, the D minor chord twice, the A minor chord twice, then the E minor chord once, the D minor chord once, the A minor chord once, and finish it with an E7th chord. This tells the rhythm player and the bassist to play the notes above, the drummer to play at 120 beats per minute, and the person playing the lead that they can play melodies in the A minor scale, which is the same as a C major but with the A as the root. So here's a quick example. Now that was a very basic and simple example of how much information can be packed into one little sentence. Let's play the 12-bar blues in A minor at 120 beats per minute. The good news is that we've already learned lots of what you need to know. Music theory essentially can be broken down into 3 main categories: harmony, melody, and rhythm. Harmony is when multiple notes or voices are played together to produce a new sound. Chords are a good example of this. We already learned a bunch of major and minor chords, and as we already talked about, a chord is simply 3 or more notes played at the same time. So the chords we learned consist of a root, the note the chord is named after, a 3rd, and a 5th. So if we use our first position from the C major scale, that's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, the C on the 8th fret, E string 8th fret is our root position, and so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th are the 3 notes that the chord is based off of. And if you remember, any note on the string below is just a 5 fret difference away. So an A string open is the same as the low E string on the 5th fret. The same goes for an E. So an E on the A string, 7th fret, is the same as the high E on the low E string, 12th fret. So we've got our root, our 3rd, and our 5th, and in order to make this a chord, we just take our 5th and we bring it down to the D string. And there's our C major. You may have also noticed that the 5th is the 2nd note in the power chord that we've learned as well. Now this is also true for all of the chords we've learned. For example, the D minor chord. Now if you remember, there is a 1 note difference in the D minor and the D major. So our D major sounds like this, and our D minor sounds like this. So if we go from that first position to that second position where we're starting on the D note, that's D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. So our 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So our D minor chord consists of these 3 notes. So we know we have our root, and then we'll just move that third down to the next string, and then the fifth down to the next string as well. And there we've got our D minor chord. Now, if you remember earlier, the C major scale has 7 notes in it. That means that 7 chords can be played if we're playing music in the key of C, or C major. C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and B diminished. Now, we haven't learnt B diminished yet, but it looks like this. So it's similar to a minor, but you just stretch out. And for the sake of going through this course quickly, we're not going to worry about the B diminished. Now, the second category in music theory is melody. Melody is essentially 2 or more notes or voices played in order through time, or a succession of notes arranged into musical phrase. A melody is often pleasing to the ear and is often the most recognizable part. Most musical compositions are often constructed with multiple melodies that repeat. Melody can be thought of with 2 primary elements, pitch and rhythm. Pitch is the note that is played, for example, C, D, E, F, G, etc. And the rhythm element is the duration of the note and how long that note will sound. This brings us to our third category, rhythm. Rhythm is basically the placement of sound in time. Or you could say that the pattern of sound and silence, or even the pattern of the strong and weaker voices repeating in a song moving through time. For example, a drum pattern. Doof, doof, tsh, doof, 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 tsh, doof, 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 tsh. Or even... These rhythmic patterns can be created with percussions, pitched instruments, or vocals. Rhythm consists of these basic elements: beat, time signature, meter, tempo, strong and weak beats, syncopation, and accents. So the division of musical time is called a beat. It's a repeating pulse that underlies a musical pattern, just like a heartbeat. Doof, 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 doof would be a beat. Meter is a rhythmic pattern or a group of stronger and weaker beats, or pulses through time that define each measure. A measure is a period of time with a specific number of beats. So in the 4/4 time signature, there are 4 beats per measure. In musical notation, a measure is ended by a bar drawn after the beats. So often you will hear the term of measures and bars being used interchangeably. For example, if we're measuring a bar in 4/4, that means 4 beats for every bar. We would measure it as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. In 3/4, there are 3 beats for every measure. So we would measure that, for example, as 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now, in these examples, I waved my hand in a specific pattern, helping me visualize the time signature. This is very helpful when you're trying to understand the structure of a song you're listening to. So for 4/4, a common pattern is a cross, and it's counted as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So each of the 4 points of the cross are our 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then our "and" is the time that it takes to travel between those points. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, what you'll find is when listening to most pop music, you just find that downbeat, you find where the bar starts, and you can just count along. And you'll actually be able to predict when the music ends, or when the bar ends, or it switches from a verse to a pre-chorus, etc. Now for 3/4, a common pattern is a triangle. So that's 1, 2, 3, and it repeats 1, 2, 3. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and again, as we switch from our beat to our next beat, the "and" is the count in between. Time signature is a representation of meter, which indicates the number of beats per measure. It also indicates how long these beats last. So the top number indicates how many beats per measure, and the bottom number indicates how long the beat lasts. For example, in 4/4, also known as common time, there are 4 beats of a quarter note each. In 3/2 timing, there are 3 beats of a half note each. Tempo is how quickly a piece of music is played. It's measured by BPM, or beats per minute. So 120 beats per minute is a very common time, and that means that there are 120 beats played for every minute of music. Strong and weak beats are exactly what they sound like. and rhythm is a combination of these beats. Now, syncopated rhythms are those that do not align with the downbeats of individual measures. A syncopated beat will put its emphasis on traditional weak beats, such as the second eighth note in a measure of 4/4. Complex rhythms tend to include syncopation. While these rhythms may be more difficult for a beginner musician to pick up, they tend to sound more striking than non-syncopated rhythm patterns. So there's a lot more topics to delve into in regards to rhythm and music theory, but for the sake of fitting a lot into this series, we're going to skip over the rest and keep going. Thanks for watching episode 6. I hope you found today's lesson helpful and valuable. If you have any questions or for more information, feel free to visit us at lectureowl.com. Next, in episode 7, we're going to talk about basic chord progressions, playing melody, and improvisation.